victim.
Hello, my name is Austin Torres, and welcome to Would You Die Live, the podcast where we talk about our favorite horror monsters and villains, and we do it live. Today, I am joined once again by my dear friend. You know him as Dead Noise. He does the music, he does the horror, and sometimes he does the horror music and the music horror.
I try to mix it up a little bit.
Please welcome my friend Chris. And our topic of discussion for today, there's only one thing we can do right before election night in the United States of America. And that is celebrate one of the biggest Japanese icons, like, it's Godzilla.
It's the goat. He's not a lizard, he's a goat.
Exactly. The big G. G stands for goat. No, wait. Godzilla? So yes, our topic of today is Godzilla, celebrating 70 years of kicking ass and taking names.
That's crazy. I remember back when it was 50, and that was the big milestone. I feel old as dirt now.
Yeah, because that was 2004. That would have been Godzilla Final Wars.
Mm-hmm.
So
I remember back in the day when Blockbuster was all the rage, and it took a while for those movies to come to America, and it was like 2007. And look, this was a long tradition with my dad and I. We would go to Blockbuster every weekend and rent a different Godzilla movie. I would rent a lot of the same ones, but I remember one time specifically towards the end of Blockbuster's existence in my hometown. They were like, we actually got a new Godzilla movie in, and we looked at each other like, there's a new one? And they're like, yeah, it's Godzilla Final Wars. I'm like, I need it. We gotta get it. And it was great.
That's awesome. I liked Final Wars because it being the 50th, it felt like a true celebration.
Yeah.
And everyone was in it.
It was like Destroy All Monsters on steroids. It was crazy.
And if I remember correctly, it was everyone except for Mechagodzilla.
Yeah, Mechagodzilla. I mean, if you want to count Varen, he's not technically part of the Godzilla universe, but he did have a cameo in Destroy All Monsters. I always wish he had more screen time. I know he was written in originally for GMK, and then that got taken out, which I'm upset about because I always loved his design. But yeah, he wasn't in Final Wars either, and I was sad about that. I would have much rather had him instead of the giant spider. No offense to, the creator of the short film Spider.
Well, it's funny because even though I don't like, yes, I made a spider film, but I am arachnophobic.
Same.
I don't fuck with spiders. But I kind of fuck with Kumanga.
No.
Kumanga's kind of cool.
No, I disagree. I will never.
I think there comes a point where you become too big to be scary.
I disagree. I think it's the opposite.
Because, I think for me, Shelob from Lord of the Rings is super scary. But bigger than Shelob, I'm just like, that you're kind of funny now.
I can kind of agree with that, but at the same time, I think back to when I was like 8 or 9 years old seeing Son of Godzilla the first time, and even though that was a puppet spider, that thing scared the bejesus out of me.
I cut you off.
No, you're good.
I was gonna say, I think for me, it's like once you get to that size, it doesn't matter what you are. You're lethal. It could be Godzilla, it could be Rodan, it could be Kumanga. I don't care what you are.
Yeah.
You're
Well,
you're so big.
here's a question then. Which Godzilla monster, aside from, himself, would you consider to be your favorite? Because there's a lot of different routes you could go with that.
Um, there's so many. You're right. There's so many routes I can go with. Um, just to make life easier, can I disqualify Mothra?
Yes, because that might have also been my pick.
All right, disqualifying Mothra, then I'm gonna give it to Gigan.
Oh, okay.
Because if you remember the video game Godzilla Destroy All Monsters Melee or Godzilla Save the Earth,
Mhm.
Gigan was my boy.
Yeah, I was a big Save the Earth guy. I never played Destroy All Monsters, but I had Save the Earth and Unleashed. And I am not a gamer. Those were the only 2 games I really played. That and Guitar Hero.
Uh, dude, tangent real quick. Um, we are recording this. Well, we are live, so if you're in the chat, say hi. If
We'll
not,
do it live.
yeah, we're doing it live. But but this past weekend was the weekend after Halloween, and that's when my costume parties were. So
Mm,
I dressed up as Slash, famous guitar player from Guns N' Roses and star of the hit video game Guitar Hero 3: Legends of Rock.
mhm.
And I had a Guitar Hero controller as part of my costume, and people really appreciated that.
I love that. When I saw those pictures on Instagram, over the weekend, I was like, "This is amazing."
I thought I did a pretty good job on that costume. I was really proud of it.
Yeah, you pulled it off pretty well.
So I'm a rock star, guys. But back to Godzilla Save the Earth and destroy, like, playing as Gigan was so much fun.
Mhm.
So I got a and Gigan just looks so cool, and he's like, I don't know what he is. He's just awesome. He's got a fucking laser eye and a buzz saw and the Grim Reaper size for hands, and he's kind of like a dinosaur, but he's not.
He's kinda like a robot, but he's not. Um, the final wars design is really cool. I prefer
Yes.
that over the original.
I don't know if I prefer it over the original, but I still very much like it.
Mhm. I like the saws, like the the, um,
The
the
chainsaw hands
yeah,
instead of the scythe hands.
yeah, I like how he can interchange them.
I also have a very soft spot in my heart for Mechagodzilla.
Mm,
Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla was one of the few Godzilla movies I owned growing up, and one of the first ones as well. So I that's one of the ones I've seen the most.
that was the 2nd Godzilla movie I ever saw, and, I specifically remember my dad I came home from school one day, and my dad What came home from Blockbuster and he rented GMK and Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla. So 2 completely different movies. I loved one of them, and then the other one I was like, "What is this?" And that one happened to be Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla. Um, I it because of my first impressions of that first movie, I still have a very hard time enjoying Mechagodzilla as a monster, as a character, the movies themselves. Um, but I can see why people like that. Um, but I just could never get into him.
I can.
Well, good for you, Austin.
But before before I ask you what yours are, I just want to say um we did disqualify Mothra, and that's because Mothra's too OP.
Yeah,
Mothra is iconic. And yes, this is a Godzilla episode, but I think to talk about Godzilla, you have to talk about his um supporting cast.
yeah. I mean, there's so many of them. You can't really ignore them.
Right, right. And it boggles my mind. We went 10 minutes and we haven't even mentioned King Ghidorah.
Well, that was gonna be my pick. So
So okay, wait. Let's go back. I can edit this. Oh wait, we're doing it live.
We'll do it live.
We're doing it live. Um, everyone forget what just happened. So, Chris, who is your favorite Godzilla supporting cast member?
Let's see if I can pull it up. I don't know if you can see it.
Yeah,
Yeah. So if it's not Mothra, then it's Ghidorah, and I think that kind of stems from GMK being my first Godzilla movie, and I just kind of gravitate. Number one, I was like 7 years old, and it was a big dragon. How was I not gonna be a fan of that?
that's fair.
Um,
I love
b-
King Ghidorah.
but I mean, it has three heads, two tails. It spits out lightning. It kicks Godzilla's ass. Like it's such an iconic enemy of Godzilla throughout the entire franchise. So I can't, it, especially because we disqualified Mothra. I can't not pick Ghidorah. It would just feel sacrilegious to me.
Talking to the person who like went all chaos gremlin and picked the chaos gremlin of the Godzilla universe, Gigan. Uh,
Yeah.
but Final Wars, the two big bads were King Ghidorah and Gigan.
Hmm.
I know
Oh
they
my
call him
god.
like Kaiser Ghidorah or something like that, but it's King Ghidorah.
Yeah, I never really got into that either with the whole Kaiser Ghidorah because I felt like when you're celebrating 50 years of the franchise and you're going to try and introduce a new variation or a new version of the same character, that just wasn't the right move. But I mean, the whole fan base kind of accepts it as King Ghidorah, like you said, so
And
it all
like
works out.
and like I think you could get away with a variation on Gigan
Oh yeah,
because like I love Gigan, but King Ghidorah is like the Joker to Godzilla's Batman,
yeah,
I
I
think.
agree.
And like Batman or like Spider-Man, Godzilla has multiple arch nemesises.
Yes,
So
too
like
many to count, really.
the big 3 for Spider-Man, like, you could argue his biggest nemesis is Green Goblin, Doc Ock, or Venom. I think the consensus is Green Goblin, right?
Hmm.
And, like, the consensus for Godzilla is King Ghidorah. But then Mechagodzilla's right up there.
Yeah. See, I'm an expert on one of these fields. Spider-Man is not my forte, but I know what you mean though.
And
Um,
then, like I feel like depending on who you ask, I think a lot of people say Destroya is up there, but I don't
yeah,
think they have a rivalry. I think they just had one epic movie.
yeah, that's true. Could you imagine if that was in if Destroyer was in not Destroy All Monsters, Jesus God. If he was in
Final
Final
Wars,
Wars, that would be incredible.
but, like, you look at the MonsterVerse, right? Who's the first one they bring of the existing Godzilla movies for him to fight? It's King Ghidorah.
Yeah,
And then the big bad that unite Godzilla and King Kong, which maybe Kong kind of fills that Venom spot, where
yeah.
it's like sometimes they're allies, sometimes they're not. Like,
Oh, yeah.
because like Spider-Man and Venom, like you said, Spider-Man's not really your thing, but like Spider-Man and Venom have teamed up.
Have they?
Yeah,
I
to like
I didn't
fight
know that.
Carnage. Carnage is Red Venom.
Oh shit,
Um,
there's a Red Venom?
yeah, and Carnage is fucking crazy, dude.
Wow.
You should get into Spider-Man.
Yeah, it sounds like I should.
But, but, where was I going with that? But yeah, like Godzilla and King Kong, like I don't they have that rivalry
Mhm.
now. Um, which King Kong versus Godzilla from the 60s is an epic movie
Yeah.
and so important, so important to Godzilla, who we know as today, because like Godzilla was a hit, the
Mhm.
first Godzilla movie, which I'll stand up a little bit. I'm repping
Hey.
I'm repping that kind of classic Godzilla film. Um, but where was I going with that? We're doing it live. We're doing it live.
King Kong.
Yeah,
Um,
King Kong versus Godzilla in the early 60s. I forget what year it came out.
I want to say it was 64 or 63. I can't remember now.
Yeah, that was one of the films that really made Godzilla into the star we know today, because the first Godzilla film, iconic, and it was a big deal, but that's a somber film.
Yeah.
And then Godzilla Raids Again, which I believe that introduces Anguirus.
Hmm.
Um, and Anguirus over the years kind of became the Robin to Godzilla's Batman.
Yep.
I keep talking
Especially in
about Batman
Godzilla
like I know
versus
Batman.
Gigan.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
I lied. King Kong versus Godzilla was 1962.
It was 62.
Yep.
But we were in the ballpark.
Yeah, close enough. It was the early 60s. We knew that much.
Right. That movie, I think, really kind of like, because of teaming him up with King Kong, really kind of brought even more people to Godzilla.
Yeah.
Um, and if I remember correctly, that movie was a big hit, and that kind of solidified Godzilla's path to being the cinematic icon that he is today.
Hmm. Yeah, I agree. To the point where they would just add Godzilla to movies for the sake of marquee value, like Godzilla versus Megalon. He wasn't supposed to be in that, I don't believe. Or I don't remember. I think Jet Jaguar was supposed to be the main focus, but then they slapped Godzilla in there just because they knew it would make more money.
Right.
Um, so yeah, and that's happened a couple times throughout the franchise, I'm sure.
And like, Mothra had her own movie first,
Hmm.
and after Godzilla versus King Kong, or King Kong versus Godzilla was a big hit, then came Mothra versus Godzilla.
Or Godzilla versus the Thing, or one of the other many titles that they gave it. The Showa
Right.
era has so many titles. I don't know how you feel about that, but it is hard to keep track of.
It makes it very, very hard. Yes. But that movie, excuse me. And then like Godzilla shows up in Ghidorah the three-headed monster, and then they just all started trading and just join. They did the cinematic universe before Marvel did.
Yeah, they did. Dare I say they did it better. That's maybe a hot take, but I'm also wicked biased.
But with Godzilla, Godzilla kind of became the star of that. So Godzilla started becoming the headliner,
Hmm.
and for good reason. I mean, for some reason, I think everyone kind of just gravitates towards Godzilla.
Yeah. Well, it also, as the series progressed, it started the more popular it became, the more it started to appeal to children, throughout the
Right,
Showa era at least. And then towards the end they started to like kind of pick it back up with Terror of Mechagodzilla and Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla. Um and then the Heisei era kind of just it was like a start from scratch kind of thing. Um
right.
Very 80s, a lot of pyrotechnics for a sci-fi monster movie, but I'm here for it. Um, but yeah, I think I was raised off of the Showa era. Yes, GMK was my first Godzilla movie, but I watched so much of the Showa era before the rest of them. Like, like Godzilla versus the Sea Monster was my favorite, but everyone now knows that as Ebera Horror of the Deep. um, but yeah, movies like that were always my favorites because it was like you had the monster battles and it wasn't too hard to focus on what was going on because it was meant to appeal to children. I will say, however, Godzilla versus Hedorah, to this day, I can't watch it because I remember watching it when I was like really sick one time and it
Oh
felt like
no.
such a bad fever dream and it still messes with me. That and Godzilla versus Gigan to a certain degree. Like I'll start to get like the fever sweats again. It is not a good time.
Yeah, that movie is a fever dream though.
Yeah.
But I do gotta ask, do you have a favorite Godzilla film?
Mm. A favorite. Hmm. Well, there's 30 movies. I'm not I love the MonsterVerse movies for what they are. I just don't enjoy them very much. Like, don't get it twisted. I was I loved King of the Monsters. I loved Skull Island. I was very entertained by Godzilla versus Kong. I didn't see the latest one, but it's just not my cup of tea. Um, GMK will always be my favorite, but if I'm looking at it from like a critical perspective mixed with my enjoyment, then Godzilla minus one is the best of the best in my opinion.
It is pretty good.
If I could, it's like neck and neck because I have a lot of sentimental stuff with GMK. But I saw Godzilla minus one like 5 times in the theater.
Oh, nice.
So I saw it twice. Hang on. I saw it once. I saw it once with my dad. I saw it once with a friend of mine. I saw it once alone. I saw it once in minus color. I'm probably going to see it again this week if I can find the time. So yeah, I'm working my way to five. Um,
I saw it 3 times, but the first time, I saw it, like, 4 p.m. They played it the Wednesday it came out, like it
oh,
was an early fan screening. Um, it was a very eventful day because I worked the day job. I left a little early so I could go to the 4 p.m. show.
mm-hmm.
I met my friends. We saw Godzilla minus one, in IMAX. It was amazing. Um, we went to our little favorite watering hole to have a drink and talk about the film,
Hmm.
and then I went home and I recorded a podcast episode.
Oh, jeez.
It was a very long, eventful day, and that was actually one of the best podcast episodes I've had. So it was a great day. I will remember that day forever. Seeing Godzilla minus one, hanging out with my friends, and then having like one of the bigger podcast episodes. It was a very surreal experience.
It sounds like it. See, I always get worried about recency bias, but I feel like Godzilla minus one is just that good because I'm sure you can relate. Like as a fan, like that first movie is like a masterpiece, so it almost feels kind of weird to put something above it. But with minus one, I'm comfortable doing that because it's just that good.
Well, the first one also, because Godzilla has come so far.
Hmm.
That first one is iconic and it is a masterpiece, but I don't think it needs to be anyone's favorite if they don't want it to be.
Yeah,
Because
I
there's so
agree.
many different flavors of Godzilla now.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, if someone's favorite is Godzilla versus a smog monster, how can I be like, "You're wrong"? It's so different from the original.
Yeah.
Or Godzilla versus Kong.
Or Godzilla's Revenge.
Yeah, 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 or, uh, Godzilla versus Gigan, like, that's one of the
Mm,
crazier ones.
yeah, yeah.
But
See,
a lot of them are so different, like, I
maybe it's my age, and maybe
mhm.
you can relate to this too, because we're kind of close in age. But I love the Millennium series. I
I
like
like the Millennium series okay.
Tokyo SOS and GMK are like my top. Those are my favorites in the series. Then Megaguirus and Against Mechagodzilla, they're okay. Um,
Mhm.
but I love Tokyo SOS. I love Mothra's design and that one in particular. And GMK is like, if you want to talk about monster brawl
Mhm.
movies, that's the best.
I have only seen GMK once,
Austin.
so
Oh
I
my god.
I gotta be honest with you, well, growing up, I only owned a handful,
Hmm.
and then, like, I don't know, I just never rented them because I had a couple of them, so
Hmm.
it didn't So for some reason, I don't know, it was weird. I didn't start exploring them until I was older,
Hmm,
but I rewatched the ones I own so much.
that makes sense. I would I would end up renting the same ones so much that we would just end up buying the DVDs from Blockbuster. And and then we would just try to find different ones because, like, I probably rented Tokyo SOS and GMK 4 times each. And number 1, that might have had something to do with the selection or lack thereof at my Blockbusters, but also I just love those movies so much that I couldn't stop watching them. And eventually, I don't know if this will be able to see, but, like, I was able to get all the DVDs, like, after,
Yeah.
15 years or however long it took.
Well, like, I'll be perfectly honest, I have blind spots in the Heisei era.
That's understandable.
The Heisei era is hard to find.
Yeah, it always has been ever since the 50th anniversary when I got into it.
Yeah, I've never seen Godzilla '84.
Oh, not
Never
even
seen
once.
it, not even once.
Wow.
I've kind of seen Biollante.
That's one of the better ones in my opinion, just for the music alone, but that's another conversation.
I haven't seen it all the way through. I've seen clips of it on YouTube that I could find,
Mm.
and I've seen a lot of them, but, like, I haven't seen it all the way through. Um, I have seen the no, the Mecha King Ghidorah. I've seen Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla 2.
Did you see Godzilla versus Space Godzilla?
You know what? That's as much as I love Space Godzilla because I had a toy of him growing up, I haven't seen it.
Man, did you see Godzilla versus Destroyer though?
Yes,
Okay, that's
that
all that
one I have.
matters.
I
That's
have
all
seen
you
Godzilla
need.
ver that one I sought out though, because everyone I think that's one of the consensus top 10.
Oh yeah. Well, it was
It
a it
might be
was at one of
consensus top
those
5.
it was at one of those times where it was kind of like Final Wars for us, like it was meant to be
Right.
the last Godzilla movie. So it kind of has that finality aspect to it while also being very dark, very out there, um, and just really fun. I really love that movie. I don't watch it nearly as much as I should, but I really enjoy it.
Well, like, when I got HBO, Max for the first time, and they had a lot of the older got the Showa series, um, through TCM, that was the first time I was able to see a lot of them, and that's just a few years ago, so I was able to
Mm,
I Godzilla versus a Smog Monster was a blind spot for me for a long time.
probably for good reason.
And, Godzilla versus a Sea Monster, I hadn't seen that. I finally saw Destroy All Monsters, I hadn't seen that.
Oh man,
Um, I'll tell you the ones I had seen growing up, because the ones I had seen, I, um, I watched over and over and over
me
for
too.
God so I had V8 I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to mention it. This is probably my first Godzilla movie, the 1988 American Godzilla with Matthew Broderick.
1998.
That's what I meant, 1998, yes,
You know, I
98.
I have that somewhere, but it is not with the rest of my Godzilla DVDs.
That was my first Godzilla movie, and I watched that all the time. I had it on VHS. That movie came out when I was 4, so I had a
Mm.
bunch of toys. I remember the Taco Bell commercials where, the little chihuahua was, trying to capture Godzilla. He's like, "Here, lizard, lizard, here, lizard,"
Mhm.
and then Godzilla shows up, and he's like, "I think I'm gonna need a bigger box."
Yeah, ironically enough, I was -1 years old.
But, yes, I am old enough to remember the Taco Bell chihuahua.
I
We
saw
used to
the
be a proper
commercials.
country.
Oh, yeah, the good old days. I, um, I remember seeing the commercials, like, online after the fact, but yeah, by the time I was a alive and could form memories, that was a distant relic of the past.
Well, you don't have to say it like that, damn.
Yeah, you're old, Austin. Just figured I'd
Coming
rub
at
that
me.
in there a little bit.
Yeah, you just turned 30, just but, so that was my first Godzilla movie, and then I had a my mom I think my mom bought me a VHS of Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla.
The original?
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
the one where King Caesar's in it, and
Mhm.
Mechagodzilla fucks up Anguirus, and that scarred me. Um,
And the space chimps.
yes, yes, and
That's what
that
screwed
scarred
me
me
up.
too. That is a trippy movie, but yeah,
Mhm.
so I watched that on repeat, and then I had a DVD box set growing up, and it was the original Godzilla. Um, no, it wasn't. It was the American version of the original Godzilla
King of the
with Raymond
Monsters.
Burr. Yes, it was that. It was Godzilla versus Mothra.
Mhm. Was Rodan in
Um,
that box set? The
Rodan was in
solo?
that box set.
I know exactly which one you're talking about now.
Yep, a
Let me see if
Terror
I
of
can pull it up.
Mechagodzilla with Titanosaurus.
Yeah. I can
Um,
see the cover art now. I didn't own it, but I know exactly which one you're talking about. Let's see if
and
I can
then
pull it up.
it was one of the ones with it wasn't Son of Godzilla, but it was the one after,
Godzilla's Revenge?
I think, yeah, where, like, the
Yeah.
little boy, becomes friends with
Yeah.
like, the son of Godzilla,
Yeah, I
and it's
despise
like
that movie. What
yeah,
was this it?
that was the one.
Look at me.
That was the one. So, those handful of films, I just watched over and over and over again,
Wow.
and then, I also own Godzilla 2000. I actually saw that in theaters. My mom
Oh,
took me,
dang.
and, Godzilla Tokyo SOS. Just happened to see that at Meyer one day, when that movie came out, and
Wow.
I either my mom or my grandma bought it for me, let me take it home, and I watched that one a lot too,
I
because
mean,
I owned it, and the only 2 I remember renting were Godzilla versus Gigan and, um, Godzilla versus Megalon.
whoa, Godzilla versus Megalon. That one was hard to find for a really long time. It was like
Yeah.
there was a time where you could find almost all of them except for Godzilla versus Megalon, Godzilla 1984, and Godzilla versus Biollante. All of the other ones were released on DVD in the US at one point or another, but those were like the last three. And I have a Japanese imported Biollante DVD somewhere because it wasn't available in America. Hold up.
I don't know how I found Megalon, but I did.
And I
That's awesome.
Yeah, it doesn't even have subtitles either, so I had no clue what was going on in this movie. I was 10 years old and clueless.
I don't know how I was able to get my hands on Meg, but I was younger, but that was always one of my favorites because Godzilla does the amazing
The
air truck
iconic
kick.
meme.
Yeah, yeah, I love that so much. That is that changed my life when I saw
It's
I
kinda
honestly
like
I thought I rented it from Blockbuster.
mm,
I don't know how, but I did see that when I was younger.
it was
Um,
probably a VHS 'cause,
then maybe I did maybe we rented it on VHS, maybe I'm mixing up my memories.
well, I know for sure at least Biollante was on VHS when it came out in America,
Mhm.
but it took forever for them to come out on DVD, so that might have been the case with Megalon in '84 too. I mean, I wasn't there when it happened, but,
Right.
um, yeah, it's funny what you mentioned the meme of Godzilla versus Megalon, and the one that sticks out to me a lot was Godzilla versus Monster Zero, or, Invasion of Astro Monster or just simply Monster Zero or whatever other title you want to give it just based on the weather that day. Where he does like that dance where he's
Yeah.
jumping. You know exactly which one I'm talking about. That one, that was like the meme of my youth until I saw the one from Megalon where he just slides across. Um, or in Godzilla versus the Smog
Oh,
Monster,
when he flies.
yeah, with his atomic breath. Oh my gosh.
Iconic.
The perfect fever dream cap off if I've ever seen one.
There's a shot that I love from, oh, actually, before I say that, my favorite meme was King Kong taking the tree and sticking it in Godzilla's, mouth, and someone captioned it with, like, "Eat your vegetables!"
Oh yeah. I've been seeing that one making the rounds again recently, and it's like my dentist immediately after asking me how my day is.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
So accurate.
Me when I need to give my dog medicine.
Oh my god. What's in your mouth?
Yeah, yeah. And Adam Wingard kinda did that in Godzilla versus Kong.
Mhm.
Kong, sticks the axe in Godzilla's mouth as kind of a homage to
I
that
thought that was a
scene.
good nod.
Yeah, there are a lot of fun little nods in Godzilla versus Kong. You could tell Adam Wingard's not like a Godzilla fan, a horror fan, 'cause there's a lot of Jaws energy.
Yes. I mean, they kinda lose me with all the Hollow Earth subplot and all that towards the end, but, like, that movie's still really entertaining, and I watched it in the theater. That was probably the last either the last one I saw. It was COVID was still a thing. Um, it was, like, right at the beginning before everything really got shut down, I think. I can't remember.
No, no, so
Wha
I remember this so vividly. The last film I saw before everything locked down
Invisible
was
Man.
The Invisible. I told you that story?
No, I just listened to your podcast.
What? Aw,
I'm a
but,
fan, brother.
so, okay, I've told that story before. My first one back in the theaters, this is when things slowly started to come back. So, this was still a risk, but
Oh,
a
that's
risk I
right.
was willing to take
Same. My whole
'cause it
family
was
went.
it was Godzilla versus Kong. I needed to see that on the big screen, and it was fun. I saw a meme. It was from Thor Ragnarok, and and it was of Thor being like, "Hulk, you can't go back to the movie theaters yet. COVID's still a thing." And it's a Hulk, and like the big monster behind him just says Godzilla versus Kong, and Hulk just goes, "But big monster." I
Yep.
was like, "That's me. I'm sorry. I
That
was
was
so
me too.
good. I was so good, but that was my risk I took."
Yeah, my whole family took that risk. It was us, one my best friend from high school and one of my sister's friends. So much so that that theater was mobbed. We couldn't even
Yeah.
sit together, there were so many people, and I'm like, "This is not compliant with the laws right now."
Well
Um,
well,
it was worth it though.
my theater would only they set up their site so, like, you could buy seats, but it wouldn't let you buy seats next to other people
God, I
unless
wish.
you bought them together. So it's like so me and my buddy went, I was able to buy the 2 together, but they wouldn't allow someone to get it right next to me
Mm,
or right next to him.
yeah,
So if I were to go by myself, people wouldn't. I mean, they got rid of that now, so now that like, I saw Terrifier 3 in a packed house.
yeah. That I mean, some movies just need to be seen with a packed house, though. But I do
Right.
wish that's one thing I miss about living in Wilmington, North Carolina, where there's a Regal theater and you can choose your seats. I got two AMC theaters here in Jacksonville, and I do not have the luxury of knowing who's going to be near me when I walk into the theater. Um, for example, I saw Terrifier 3 last weekend. I think it was last weekend.
Mhm.
Um, and I was the only one in the theater. I was in the back in the center, and it was in one of the smaller auditoriums, so it didn't have like one of those corners where it was only like 2 seats. So I'm right in front of the projector, the very back row, and it's like a bunch of empty seats next to me. A family of 6 comes up right next to me, realizes there's not enough seats for all of them. Mind you, the children are no older than 10. And then when they realize there's not enough seats for all 6 of them, they move right in front of me. And I'm like, great. It was a mother and 5 boys. And oh my God, I was so annoyed. I was kind of hoping they would walk out after it got too gory. No, it didn't happen.
Were they annoying during the movie?
Yeah.
Damn.
They weren't like obnoxious, but I'm very bougie when
Oh,
it
okay.
comes to being in the
Well,
movie theater.
I would have actually been excited in that situation. I'll tell you why. Because my first thought now, I am a bad person. I
Same.
want the record to state, I am not nice. I would have been like, "One of them gonna cry?"
Yeah, I was waiting for that.
Like, I wouldn't have like, I don't mind if people sit in front whatever. I go to the movies enough to where some people are gonna be shitty.
Yeah.
I mean, I mind, but, like, I don't know, like, sometimes, like, I used to be annoyed when people would, like, chomp on their popcorn a little too loudly, or if someone whispers to their friend, like, "Oh," you know what I mean? And I used to get so annoyed, and then I just reached a point where I'm like, I might be a like, maybe that's a me problem.
I can relate to a certain degree.
It's the people on their cell phones where I'm like, "Just fucking get out."
Yes, absolutely.
If you can't put your phone away for 2 hours, why are you paying the $12?
Yeah. And then they're gonna come at you with that energy like, "Well, I paid for it, so I should do whatever I want." It's like,
I
"Bro,
I
you're in a
paid for it
dark
too, you're
room."
not special.
Exactly. We're all broke in this economy. I'm
Right.
not on my phone. Um, yeah, and what's even better, like, for that screening, I was like, "Great. There's a family of 6 next to me, and they're all small children. Let's see how weird this can get." And then 5 minutes into the movie, maybe right before the end of the opening scene, this group of, like, 3 teenage girls comes up. They don't realize I'm sitting where I am until they're already up to my room. They're like, "There's a guy over." I'm like, "Yep." And then they sit right next to me. I'm like, "Wow." It's an empty theater minus me and 6 other people. Go somewhere else.
Oh
It's
my
stuff like
goodness.
that that bothers me, like, because 'cause I'm a big personal space individual,
Mhm.
which is kinda weird considering all the concerts I go to, but f at a movie, I do not want anybody near me. It's a claustrophobia thing, I don't know what it is. Maybe I'm a bad person.
Well, it's like what bothers me is phone etiquette.
Yep.
Are people just, like, not knowing how to talk in a movie theater. I don't mind if you go to, like, "Oh, did you see Godzilla suplex Kong?" Like, that's
Yeah.
I like when people laugh, I like when people gasp or
Yep.
like, "Don't go in there," I like when people react to movies.
Right.
I
Me
I
too.
went to a s I went to a screening of now this is different because this was my movie, but I went to a s a film festival and they were playing Spider, and there was this woman a couple rows behind me, and I heard her just kinda and she said it actually kinda loudly. She goes, "Smash it with the lamp." And that made me so happy.
I
That made
love
me
that.
so happy. And, like, you go see Terrifier, and it's fun when you hear someone say, like, "That clown's messed up,"
Yeah.
or like, "Oh, shit." Like, I like that sort of thing. It's
Yeah.
when people, are, like, talking to their buddy and, like, you're seeing, Smile too, and they're like, "Yeah, so you watched the game last night?" And it's just like, if you're not gonna engage with the movie, why are you here?
Yeah, exactly.
Because other
That's
people,
kinda where I'm at with it too.
yeah. So phones, I cannot stand. I
Mhm.
I get so like And I get it. Sometimes a movie's boring.
Mm,
Leave.
yes. Go to the bathroom. Come back.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. And it's like, well, what if I've seen someone try to like justify it on Twitter, being like, well, what if my babies need to text me and I need to go, it's just like, then don't go to the movies. If you're in a situation where you can't be from your phone away from your phone for 2 hours, then don't go to the movies that day.
I
It's
need you to be my
it's
anger translator, Austin.
it's courtesy. It is a common courtesy, and a lot of people just are so entitled.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think I could put it as eloquently as you can. But yes, I very much agree.
But Godzilla, uh
What's your favorite Godzilla design? How about that?
hmm, hmm. Fuck you. That's such a hard question. You're
You're welcome. That's
How's
what I
that?
was waiting for.
Now I need an anger translator.
I think you're your own anger translator.
But so you know what? I think I'm gonna go with my heart. There are a lot of contenders, okay?
Yeah,
A lot of contenders. I gotta say the Godzilla from Godzilla versus Mothra. To me, that's Godzilla.
the original.
The original Godzilla versus Mothra, yeah. So the 4th
Okay.
Godzilla movie.
Yeah, I dig it. That's not a bad one at all.
To me, that's what, and it probably is because Godzilla versus Mothra is my favorite
Mm,
movie, my favorite Godzilla movie. Um, I do wanna shout out the Godzilla 2000 design.
yes.
I love that design. And I really, really dig, um, Godzilla from, like, the past year, both Godzilla -1 and Godzilla X Kong: The New Empire. I fuck with Pink Godzilla.
Oh, I was
I
wondering
fucking
where that sentence
love
was going. I was getting
I
a little concerned.
I fucking love Pink Godzilla. I didn't know I needed Pink Godzilla until I got Pink Godzilla. And now that I have Pink Godzilla, I just ascended. It changed my life.
I still need to see that movie.
It's okay.
It's I don't I think my biggest gripe about the MonsterVerse, honestly, is the design of Godzilla, to be completely honest. I don't enjoy it, and I'm looking at I have a poster of MonsterVerse Godzilla on
Mhm.
my door, but like it just doesn't do it for me. Um
Well, now
I'm
he's
glad
pink.
well but Godzilla 2000 had like pinkish spikes also.
He did, but when he, like, lit up, he lit up orange.
Oh, yeah, that's true. I'm colorblind. It all looks the same.
And also that Godzilla's, like, green, which I like.
Mm,
He's, like, green, and I I I always thought the spinal cords or spinal whatever's fins, spikes, dorsal plates were kinda purpley, but I guess they're kind of, but yeah, you're right. It was like a purplish, pinkish, but when he glowed, when English is hard. When he when he glowed, it was he glue
sound it out, Austin.
he, he lit up orange
There we go.
when you give up.
I know that feeling all too well. Um, no, that's a great design. Honestly, I like the Millennium design a lot, but
Mhm,
I I didn't mind the -1 design. It kind of felt like a mix between the monster. It was like a slimmed down MonsterVerse mixed with Heisei era, especially
I
in the
I
head
think that's what I
shape.
kinda like, 'cause he looks like a like, he looks so mean in
Looks like a pit
-1.
bull.
Yeah. He looks like
Um,
he's gonna fuck up your day.
and he did
And
several
he did!
times.
Um, I wanna give one more shout out, even though I've really only seen the movie once, I barely remember it, and I could be thinking of the wrong movie,
Uh-oh.
but GMK that's the one where he has, like, the white eyes, right?
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
I have
that's
one.
those pictures are so cool.
One of them is over here. I don't know if you can see it.
Yeah, I like the white eye, cause correct me if I'm wrong, but that's the one where it's like Godzilla is, like, possessed by the souls of the people killed.
Yep.
That's so cool. I'm
Yeah,
sorry. That
I don't know how you
that
can't.
rips.
Exactly. That's like the coolest plot or subplot point in any Godzilla movie. And it just does it so effortlessly. Like, oh, no biggie. It's just like, oh, yeah, of course. Why wouldn't it be that way? It's kind of like Tokyo SOS, where it's like the Mecha Godzilla was made from the bones of the original Godzilla.
Yeah, that's
Uh,
fucking metal.
Huh? Like,
Huh?
who would have thought of that? Um, to that point, um, I would probably say that the original Godzilla is my favorite design, the 1954. Um,
Yeah.
I love GMK. I love Millennium. I love Minus One. Well, I like Minus One. I love the movie. I like the design. But there's something about the original design of that suit, especially when you look at like the posters or the publicity stills. It's just so iconic, and I the Showa era is cool in its own right because they use the same suit for half of the series, but, like, I just couldn't I can't put that over the original.
Yeah. I get it. Um, like I said, my favorite's Godzilla versus Mothra. Because to me, like, that's everything I love about a Godzilla design, because he's mean in that, but
Mhm.
he has, like, the big eyes of the Showa era. Um,
It's like
he's
that
not
middle ground where it's not too child friendly either.
it's like the it's like everything you love about Godzilla, but, like no, I think you said it perfectly, it's the middle ground. It's, yeah, because it's when they were still figuring out who Godzilla was.
Yeah, I mean, there were only 4 movies in, now they're at 31.
It kinda reminds me of, like, Jason in Friday the 13th Part 4, the final chapter,
Yep.
where it's like, they're still figuring out who Jason is, but that is Jason distilled, basically.
Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
how I feel about Godzilla in Godzilla versus Mothra.
How ironic that they're both in their 4th installments and they
Yeah.
nail it down that way.
And, like, they still evolve over time, and, like, they both get sillier.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
But, like, no, I think Godzilla versus Mothra is the perfect mix of, like, camp, but mean Godzilla.
Yeah, I agree.
Because the original Godzilla is not camp.
No, it's terrifying.
And, like, King Kong versus Godzilla is camp, and Godzilla's mean in it,
Mhm.
but, like, he he's not I feel like Godzilla versus Mothra is the perfect mix of mean and camp. Because the original has no camp, no humor.
No.
It is a somber movie. And Minus One is close to that as well, but Minus One has, like, the audience cheer moment.
Oh, yeah. God, I love Minus One so much. I just wanna watch that movie again. I'm glad it's on Netflix, but seeing
Mhm.
it in the theater is like a whole other experience,
Well,
especially seeing it in IMAX too. I
some
saw it in
theaters are
IMAX
playing
once.
it this week.
Yeah, I think both of the theaters here are playing it, but your boy has a million things on his plate right now.
Damn. I'm gonna try and see it.
This week is not my week. If it was next week, I'd probably be there every single night,
Right.
but I can't this week.
Of course, you have to be busy during Godzilla week.
Dude, I'm so sad about it. Like of all weeks, I was just telling my family this earlier today. I'm like, I feel like right after Halloween, like that for that week, the days after Halloween, it's like time isn't even real. Especially on
Yeah.
top of daylight savings screwing everything up. It's like, what am I doing here? Like, what are we
Right,
doing?
exactly. Exactly. So I gotta tell you my got my Godzilla minus one story.
Oh.
In the movie, and now I told you the context of seeing it,
Hmm.
um, and, you know, and that was a great day because the episode I recorded later that day was my 100th episode.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
So that was an iconic day.
Oh yeah. That's a
Uh,
pretty big one, I would say.
yeah, I went to bed floating on air because I saw, like, my favorite movie of the year, and I just had an amazing episode recorded. Um, so that was a great day. But actually seeing Godzilla minus one in the IMAX when Godzilla attacks where the I don't want to call her like the girlfriend or the wife because that I don't want to reduce her character like that. I also
Mhm.
don't want to be like the woman because that's problematic to say it like that. But like I don't remember the characters' names.
I
But
know I know who you're talking about though.
when she's like going to work and then Godzilla attacks the city that she
And she's
works
in the
in.
train.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you hear that roar and then all you hear is boom, 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 boom.
Yes.
I teared up.
Oh yeah.
I was like, I it that drew an emotional reaction out because even though I knew Godzilla was there to fuck shit up,
Oh yeah.
I was like, I'm about to see Godzilla fuck shit up on IMAX. I felt like a kid again.
Yeah.
And it was fun and scary and like because Godzilla is mean.
He's an asshole.
Yeah, he is an ass in that. I love Mean Godzilla.
That's my favorite. I
I
love when
love
Godzilla's
Mean
the
Godzilla.
villain. Those are the best
Yeah.
movies in my opinion because obviously that's where the franchise began and it just does that so well. Obviously it appeals to kids really well with the Showa era movies, but
And I like when Godzilla's a hero too.
I do too, but nothing hits harder than when he's scary. And I had a very similar reaction to you in the theater. I don't know about you, but when I saw Shin Godzilla in the theater,
Oh,
I
I didn't see that in theaters.
I had a really emotional reaction to that one too because of all the old scores being
Yeah.
reused specifically from the first Godzilla. I was like, this is so cool. And the fact that it was so different and also felt familiar the further the movie went on. And I love that movie. And I had a really emotional reaction to that. But even more so with minus one, because like you said, like that design looked really similar to like what we grew up with, and to see that on the big screen and at the level that it was produced, because that movie is a gold. Like that,
Yeah.
honestly, that's my favorite movie of the decade. I know we're only halfway through it, but nothing's topping that so far. um
That
i
might
know
be
I
top
know you
5 for me.
disagree. um but
I think
I
my favorite of the decade would be Nope.
I had the feeling that would be yours.
But Godzilla minus one would be up there.
Oh yeah.
I would say off the top of my head, Nope, West Side Story,
Romulus.
not top 5. It's not even my top 5 of the year. I like Romulus, I do. But there's, like, some things in it that, like, I don't care for. But I
Oh.
really do like Romulus overall. I think it's a solid 3.5 or a 4-star movie depending on my mood. Um, but top 5 for the decade, it Nope, Steven Spielberg's West Side Story, Prey,
Oh, okay.
The Fablemans, Godzilla minus one. Is that five? That's five.
I was a trumpet player, dude. We're both trumpet players. We don't know, man.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
lost count at 3.
The only number I need to know is one, because that's me. First chair.
Amen to that.
Now that's trumpet playing. Um, I'm gonna give. I know I said five, but I'm gonna give honorable mention to Everything Everywhere All at Once,
Oh,
The
of course.
Invisible Man, and I really liked Oppenheimer.
I didn't see
I
Oppenheimer.
think those are my favorites of the decade so far.
Hmm.
And like I've really liked a lot of movies from this year, but I don't know if I would put any of them in my top 10 of the decade.
That makes sense. I think I would put. I mean, look, Godzilla minus one is at the top. I can't
Yeah.
even pretend it's not. Under that, I'd probably go Godzilla minus one.
Mhm.
Um, for third place, you gotta go with Godzilla minus one.
Sure, sure.
Um, and then 4 through 10. What else could it be other than Godzilla minus one? I mean,
But I'm wondering where you're gonna put Godzilla minus one.
I'm having a hard time, man. I don't know. I
And of
think I need.
course, you
I gotta
gotta
watch it
mention
again.
Godzilla minus one.
But how seriously though, how good is that movie? And also, how lucky are we to like be around to see it in the theater as many times as we have, and for it
How
to come
lucky
back to theaters?
how lucky are we to have a Oscar-winning Godzilla movie
Oh, yeah, that's cool.
in the year of our Godzilla 2024?
Yeah, I never thought I'd see the day, to be honest with you.
And the fact that Arnold Schwarzenegger got to announce it.
Oh, he did?
Yeah, because it was him and Danny DeVito doing the presenting the visual effects Oscar. So Arnold in his glorious accent was like, Godzilla.
That's
It was
awesome.
awesome. It was amazing. It was such a great moment. Um, you know, I just want to talk about films this year for a second.
Mhm.
I don't know if I would put any of them in like my top 10 for the decade, but I haven't disliked a movie yet
This year?
this year.
Hmm.
I think this year has been incredibly solid and very good, and I've
Yeah.
really liked a lot of movies.
Yeah, me too.
I haven't given any I haven't given any 5 stars on my Letterboxd this year, but I've given a couple 4.5 stars. I've given a lot of 4 stars.
Did you see Night Swim?
No,
Did you see Imaginary?
no.
Did you see the
I've also done a very good job of not seeing movies I think I might dislike.
Yeah, you're smart because 'cause I'm going through my list, I'm like, "Yeah, you might be right," and then I'm trying to think back to earlier this year, I'm like, "No,
So
I
that's
s
fair.
I
That's
saw The
fair.
Beast Within, that didn't do it for me, I saw The Exorcism, that made me wanna do anything else."
Yeah, I've only seen 30 movies, just over 30 movies this year.
Only 30, I think yeah, actually, I might have seen around that, maybe less, most likely less.
Well, it's like it's funny because like a lot of like my movie critic friends are like, yeah, I've seen 100 movies this year,
No,
like 2024 movies,
I
you know,
can't. How can
right?
you do that?
And then like I talk to like my normal people friends and they're like, yeah, I've seen like 5 or 6 movies this year.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
See
oh yeah, I it's not a competition, but at the same time, I'm like, because I'm like, damn, I haven't seen that much. And you put it in perspective, I'm like, I've seen a lot.
yeah. Like, I've definitely over the last couple years, I've seen more movies than I had, like, when I was growing up. We didn't go
Mhm.
to the movies very often. Now I'm going, like, every couple weeks. Um, but
I
I
go at
have
least 2 or 3 times a month.
yeah, and I got friends who like my roommates from college. Bless you.
Thank you.
Don't ever do that again while I'm talking.
Godzilla bless you.
um, but my roommates from college, two of them, they'll go back and forth and talk about all the movies that they watch. I'm like, yeah, I woke up this morning. That's
Mhm.
that's all I got. And one of them, he just recently got into Godzilla like last year, and
Oh, hell yeah.
I keep kicking myself. I'm like, bro, we lived together for 3 years. I'm such a bad roommate. If it took this long, um, but at the same time, like he seems to really enjoy it, so I'm happy about that. And now I have another person who I can fangirl about it with because growing up I had nobody. So that's
Yeah. I I was, like, the one Godzilla fan growing up, but I had friends who really liked the video games. So,
yeah,
while they didn't care about the movies, they would happily play the video games with me.
yeah.
So, at
See,
least I had that.
I had my dad, like he introduced me to Godzilla, but
Mhm.
I'm such an obsessive fan whenever I really get into something, and this happened with music, this happened with a lot of things with that
No, I
stuff
get it.
that my family would introduce me to. So, like, I would get to the point where it would be hard to discuss certain things about Godzilla because he would be like, "I don't know if I've seen that one. I don't think I've it's been years since I saw this one. I don't know if I've ever seen this one." And when I went to school, like, nobody watched Godzilla. Um but, like, when I got to college no, not even that. When I got on social media for Dead Noise, that's when I really started to get familiar with other people that were really into it, and then that's the whole point why I'm on social media is to make friends with those types of people. Um, but yeah, my my roommate Sinjin, if he's watching this, he has become quite the Godzilla fan, and I'm as proud as I am kind of confused because I never thought I would see the day.
Well, growing up, for me, I really got my taste from my mom and my grandpa.
Hmm.
And my grandpa my love for Godzilla comes all from my mom. My grandpa could care less about Godzilla, he didn't get it. He he when he was growing up, it was the classic Universal monsters and King Kong.
Oh, okay.
He
He's
was an
just like me.
adult well, he was an adult by the time the Godzilla movies came to the US, and so and he's like, "What the hell is this shit?" Like,
Yeah,
and I get it, but he didn't get the appeal. He always thought it was silly.
yeah. I had a great uncle who I honestly he passed away when I was really young, so
Mhm,
unfortunately, there's not a lot I remember about him. But I do specifically remember when I was first getting into Godzilla. He lived in Florida and I
mhm.
lived in North Carolina. So my mom was on the phone with him and she told him that I was getting into Godzilla. And I, with no time wasted, I hear Godzilla's stupid coming from the phone. And he was, I think at that point, he was in his mid to late mid 60s, I'm gonna say.
Yeah.
So he wanted nothing to do with Godzilla. Granted, he did gift me a DVD of Jurassic Park when I was way too young to watch it, so he does have some street cred with that. But no, don't ever talk about Godzilla with him. He was not there for it.
Obligatory Jurassic Park reference on the
You're
What You Die
welcome.
podcast. I
I
didn't
had to
even do it. I didn't even do it this
I had to
time.
check that box.
Thank you. True fan. A true friend of the show.
I know my
But,
way around these parts.
but, my mom, she grew up loving Godzilla
Hmm.
because when she was growing up, they would have, like, the Monster of the Week on, like, Saturdays or whatever,
Oh,
and,
that's
like, the
cool.
Godzilla cartoon, "Up
Oh,
from the depths, 30
yeah.
stories high, Godzilla, Godzilla." and Godzuki.
God, that just
Uh,
unlocked a core memory I forgot about. I have one of those somewhere. I have a season or two.
so, so she grew up loving Godzilla, and when I was little, I got into Jurassic Park when I was 3. I was
Oh,
a dinosaur
Jesus.
kid growing up,
Mhm.
and when you grow up loving dinosaurs, Godzilla is that next step
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
because Godzilla is a dinosaur. So, I
He's
loved
a
all the
fire-breathing
dinosaurs growing up.
dinosaur.
Mhm. Well, it's like I love Jurassic Park, I love Barney, I love Godzilla, um, and that extended to, like, dragons, so I love Dragon Tales.
Oh, yeah, I
Um,
forgot about Dragon Tales.
with Pokemon, I loved, like, Charmander and Charizard and Aerodactyl. Um,
I don't remember that one.
that's the pterodactyl looking one.
I gotta Google that.
Um, but yeah, I like yeah, anything dinosaurs. Oh, Yoshi. I love Yoshi.
Oh, yeah. I
Yoshi's my go-to in Super Smash Bros.
see, I'm Toad. I only play Mario Kart, though.
I was about to say, I don't think we're thinking of the same game, buddy.
Look,
But in
I know
Mario Kart, I also had Yoshi. I also played as Yoshi too. And you did
exactly.
say you're not you didn't you weren't much of a gamer.
I
Um,
talk mad crap and get humbled at Mario Kart. That's the extent.
as you should.
That's as competitive as I get.
Well, if you're not going to talk crap at Mario Kart, then why even play?
Yeah, it's like old people with Scrabble. Like, or bingo.
It
Like,
doesn't it doesn't
people
matter if you win or lose. It's how much shit did you talk?
exactly. Like, I'm scared to step into a bingo hall because those people get violent. But that's how I feel like our generation is with Mario Kart. It's like you can't have a civil competition of Mario Kart. Every
No,
time my best friend comes over and he brings his Switch and we play Mario Kart, it's like it could be the end of our friendship. We've known each other for 15 years at least.
I love
And
that.
yeah, it's an experience.
So, alrighty, I'm gonna start wrapping things up. I think we had another great conversation for the Would You Die podcast. I got a few more questions for you, though. It is the 70th anniversary. If you happen to find yourself in insert city name here, and you see up from the depths, 30 stories high, Godzilla making his way. Well, actually, I'm going to pause that thought. I'm going to confirm. Your favorite Godzilla movie is Godzilla minus one.
Yes.
If Godzilla from Godzilla minus one came to town, would you die?
Yes, absolutely. No questions asked. I'm
Yeah,
eh, no,
yeah.
how would I not? Like, no, number 1, I'm not the best in survival situations. Number 2, he's a giant effing lizard. I don't know what's gonna happen. I would be the person that's on the roof reporting, like those people, and I would end up thinking I'm safe because 'cause I'm up high and not
Yeah.
near him. Then his tail's gonna get me. That's how lucky I would be.
At least the best music is will be playing.
It's appropriate for me, right?
Boom, bum, 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 bum.
I wouldn't have it any other way. That's how I wanna
and
go out.
and since my favorite Godzilla is Godzilla versus Mothra, I don't have a great chance, but I have a much better chance than if it was Godzilla minus one Godzilla.
Oh, yeah. I mean, as long as you stay off the beach, you're good.
Yeah, and Godzilla in Godzilla versus Mothra is really just like, well, here's the thing protecting me from Godzilla. It's Mothra.
And even then, you got, like, a 50-50 shot. Well,
Which is
no.
better than the
Zero.
-1 shot,
Yeah, yeah, literally.
-1% chance of surviving Godzilla -1.
I I
Uh,
I'll already be drafting my will as he's walking by.
right, right. But, when Mothra's involved, there's a shot.
Yeah.
Mothra, she's a queen.
Yes, yes, indeedy.
We love Mothra in this house.
I have Mothra somewhere. I have a Mothra poster. Um, for a character that's probably one of my favorites in the franchise, I really don't have a lot of representation for Mothra, and it's
There's
kind of upsetting me now.
well, I feel like Godzilla gets all the merch.
I mean, for good reason.
Right. And then after Godzilla, then it's Ghidorah and Mothra, and then maybe Mechagodzilla.
I
I
would
feel like
argue it's Kong, and
I
then
don't I don't count Kong though,
Smart.
because not as a Godzilla monster.
Right.
I count Kong as his own entity.
Hmm. Yeah,
And
that
I know
makes
they
sense.
share the MonsterVerse together, but like to me it's like Freddy and Jason.
Yep.
They have Freddy versus Jason. They have so many comic books together. They are intertwined, but they're also separate.
Yeah, I agree.
Whereas King Ghidorah, Mothra, Rodan, Mechagodzilla, Gigan, like all those monsters are part of Godzilla's world.
Yeah.
And while Mothra has her own movie, Rodan has his own movie. That's still Godzilla's world to me.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think Mothra has a couple of her own movies too. Like I think she had her own string of movies in the '90s,
She
which
did.
I haven't seen.
They're pretty good. Rebirth of Mothra. Those are kind of cool because you kind of get different Mothra designs too.
Hmm.
Like the Rainbow Mothra, I always thought was kind of badass. There's a variation of Ghidorah in one of them.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, they're actually kind of interesting because they also obviously the Heisei era was going on around that time where it was probably just ending, but they they're so tonally different. Like the colors are much more bright and saturated. The cinematography is really different in some ways. But I mean, it's still like familiar characters to a certain degree with Mothra and other individuals. They're good. I recommend watching them. I don't know where you can find them online if you can, but if you're able to find them, I highly recommend giving them a shot.
And that's good to know. Uh, that's good to know. Do you have any more Godzilla things you'd like to say?
Um, I mean, I could do the cheapest of plugs right now. I'm working on a Godzilla video. Um, I was gonna do it for Godzilla Day, but that did not happen. I also, with it being a Sunday and daylight savings and everything, I was like, that's probably not the best day to upload it. So I'm gonna try to have something out by this weekend.
Hell
About
yeah.
70th anniversary in typical Monster Memories fashion, because that's my best thing I do apparently. Um, so I'm trying to figure out just how far I want to go with it. I have a lot of stuff written out already and clips sorted out, but I also just want to figure out what I want to say, how I want to say it before I really put it together. But I'm gonna have it out by this weekend. And I'm planning on having some other Godzilla stuff going on throughout the month that I cannot talk about yet, but I know you're kind of familiar with it. And maybe, just maybe, I'll see Godzilla -1 again. And I encourage everyone watching this or listening to this to do so as well if they're able to. Um,
Yes.
and yeah, 70 years of Godzilla. I can't wait for the next 70. I won't be around for
Exactly.
most of them, but I'm ready for it.
Not with that attitude.
I'm not gonna be 100.
You might. Medicine's getting better.
Yeah, I guess.
It's Godzilla we got to worry about.
Exactly. That's what I'm concerned about. Godzilla
Alrighty.
minus 100.
And you mentioned your video, which should be hopefully coming out this weekend. Where can people find this video and where can they find you should you want to be found?
The very, very important caveat. Um, I am on YouTube, Twitter, and Instagram at Dead Noise Blog. I'm kind of glad YouTube allows handles now because that
Yeah.
makes things so much easier. Yeah, the video is going to be on the YouTube channel. I might write up a something for the blog on Substack. Probably won't, um, I want to do a lot of Godzilla related stuff throughout the month because Godzilla is literally a gigantic part of my life, figuratively and literally, because he's fucking huge.
The big
So
G.
and 70 years, that's a big year. That's like a big milestone. I don't know any other franchise that's gone on that long for that successfully. Um, and yeah, I'm just happy that the franchise is still going strong.
I think it's really just Godzilla and James Bond.
It really is. And even then, it's like I feel like James Bond has had more breaks than Godzilla, but I could be wrong.
Yeah. And in the Universal monsters, I feel like the characters have stood the test of times,
That's true.
but not as like a franchise, not
Yeah.
as a consistent franchise.
No, absolutely
But
not.
those characters, it's kind of like Mickey Mouse, you know,
Yeah.
Godzilla, Mickey Mouse, Frankenstein, James Bond, Batman,
Mhm.
Superman. All of these characters, everyone knows them. They survive through all sorts of different types of media. Like they all have comic books and video games and movies and TV shows and art and action figures. They are pop culture,
Oh, yeah.
and Godzilla will always be around.
Yeah, thank God, Zilla.
Zilla. Oh no, there goes Tokyo.
Hey,
Go go Godzilla.
obligatory Blue Oyster Cult reference.
I'm surprised you didn't.
Ah, I thought about it, but I didn't.
Well,
I was waiting for the right
I
time to
got you.
strike, and
I got you.
I appreciate it.
Alrighty. Thank you everyone so much for listening. I will catch you guys next week with another banger of an episode. Until then, I am Austin Torres. Try not to die.